Hey guys, how you doing? It's been a while since I posted a video. Today I just want to talk to you about a new enhancement I got for my open gun, my USPSA Open Division gun, and it's the slide racker. If for many years, ever since I started shooting, I've resisted getting a racker. I don't know why. It was probably because John, my gunsmith, told me that, hey, if your gun runs well, you don't need a racker, right? You don't need one. Because you don't need a racker to help you clear malfunctions and so forth. So I resisted getting one for a while, but it's always been in the back of my head to, like maybe I should put on a racker. Maybe it will help me clear malfunctions better or do things faster, manipulate the gun faster. It wasn't until I got one that I realized how much of an advantage it can be, especially in not just malfunction clearance. You don't want to get to that point. But in unloaded table starts, for instance, or unloaded gun starts, where your gun is empty and you need to stoke the gun up. When the buzzer goes off, you need to stoke your gun up and rack the slide and move on fairly quickly. So I resisted doing that for a long time, and it wasn't until shooting in the Nationals and a few other major matches that there's always one or two stages that had something like that would just screw you up. And to me, the cost of adding on a racker, just to avoid those very rare occasions where you have to use them, it's not that bad. It's about maybe $150, including the workmanship to get the slide racker installed. So it's a relatively inexpensive modification that I thought I should just go do it. So I finally decided to capitulate, and I reached out to John and said, hey, can you help me? I want to put on a racker on my gun. The issue that I had was when I got him to build the slide, I told him to mill out a lot of the slide and try to make the slide as light as possible. So that's why we had all these cuts on my gun, and to lighten the slide with top cut, and also the back portion here has been cut really far forward to relieve as much metal as possible so that the slide will be as light as possible. And the reason is I want a very quick slide, very lightweight recoil spring plus a combination of a light slide will make the slide go much faster, and hopefully will recover so that I can shoot much faster. So that's the idea, and it works for me. And the problem with that is there's so much metal removed that there's not enough metal to put on a racker. Now you see the racker installed on this gun, but so we had to figure out how to do this after removing all that slide metal away. And he said it's possible. The only thing that we can't do is there are two ways of securing a slide racker on your gun. The thing is, if you have a racker on your gun like this, and look at the mount that I'm using, is a CMOS Serendipity mount that has mounts on both sides. If the racker is installed, you can't take the slide out to clean the gun. It's a simple fact. So the way to do it is you have to be able to remove your racker. And to remove the racker, there are two mechanisms. One is a pin, and the other is a ball detent. Now the ball detent is a lot easier, where you have a spring-loaded ball, and you just shove the racker in, and you'll click into place and held into place by the ball. And for me, I use a pin because there's not enough metal to install the ball, so we had to go with a pin method. So for me to dismantle this gun for cleaning, I'll have to remove the pin, slide the slide racker out, and then remove the slide and then clean it. Right, so I'm going to do that every time I clean my gun. So let's go to the tabletop to take a look at some of the enhancements and what are the considerations that you need to think about when you have a racker on your gun. Alright, let's take a look at the gun on the tabletop here. That's how my racker is installed. John did this for me just recently using a pin method. So if I slide the racker back, you can see there we go. That's where it's pinned. You just remove that pin and slide the racker out. This is just a standard dovetail that's cut in. So one of the interesting things, the benefit of having a racker, is that you do not need to grasp your slide this way or in the front in order to manipulate the slide. You just hold on to the racker and just pull it, and it's really comfortable. Really, you get a good purchase on the slide. by just holding a finger on it and just racking really quickly. So if you are in the middle of a stage and if there was a malfunction, instead of grabbing onto a slide and twisting your wrist like this and trying to get the round out, you can just rack fairly quickly. The other advantage is on unloaded on-table starts. So typically when you do an unloaded on-table start, you have your gun pointing directly downrange. Unload the gun, your hammer is down, so when you rack your slide, you need to defeat the mainspring, which is the hardest thing to do if you don't have a racker. And then, typically you position your magazine close by, pointing towards the end of the gun. The reason to do that is when you reach for your gun, you reach your mag at the same time, and then when you twist your wrist, just look at how your magazine is aligned. You don't even need to bring the gun close. You just grab the gun, twist, and then load and go, right? So what I used to do in the past was I twist, I load, and then bring the gun up, grab the slide, and then you look at how my wrist is contorted this way. It's like it's pressed in together and it's a very awkward position, and then you rack to try to defeat the mainspring. That's one of the reasons why I put grip tape here, because it was pretty hard to get a purchase on the gun, and not having a racker actually made me lose confidence in those stages. I actually had issues thinking about racking the slide. I actually think about too much to the point when I had to do it, I am actually not confident of racking the slide, so I slow down, I get a good grip, good grip on the gun. Okay, that's good. Now just pull it, make sure it's pulled all the way, and then let go. And it can take me a second and a half to maybe 2 seconds just to do that. With a racker installed, I'm so much more confident now that every time I just load the gun, I don't have to worry about anything. I just pull the racker and it will move really quickly, and I can save anywhere from half a second to a second. In dry fire, I save like half a second, but in real life, if you shoot in real life, usually you're slower than when you practice in dry fire. I probably save a second and a half doing that, and that's a lot in like a 4-second stage or a 7-second stage, right? Especially in the open division. So racker for me is really useful, so I can just load the gun like this and just rack, and then you're good to go. Now, there was a concern though, this is a concern with all guns that have rackers, is your thumb, where your thumb placement from your primary hand. Because normally in a normal grip, you would grip your gun like this and you rest your thumb. And I see some shooters, actually myself too, before I install the racker, my thumb is always that high up, like that. And look at what happens. The next time I fire that gun, I don't know, it might rip the gun out of my hands, or it might just cause a malfunction if the slide doesn't go back. You just fire off that one round and then there's a malfunction, right? So you need to clear it. So that was a concern for me. I used to use this thumb rest, the Go Gun thumb rest. It's huge. It was like, if you install it to the side of the gun, it looks like that. And it basically placed my thumb that high up, okay, on my support hand, like that. Now what happens then is when I rest my primary hand thumb on the support hand, there's only that much clearance from the racker. If that forced me to be conscious about it, and then every single time I draw my gun, I have to think about, okay, I need my primary thumb forward and I need to press down on my hand. Now I tried, and there's only like maybe, is that a quarter of an inch space, even while pressing my thumb down. That's not a lot of space here. And you can do that in dry fire, you can train yourself, but in the heat of shooting a stage, in the middle of a stage, after a reload or maybe clearing a malfunction, guess what happens? Your thumb will come back to this position again, and it might cause a problem. So I didn't want that. I tried to find a way to, well, one of the ways to do it is you could heat this racker and bend it in, and make it go higher like this. Well, I don't have a torch in order to do that. So what I did was I switched the gas pedal for a much smaller one. Let me just clear my gun here. These are all empty rounds, by the way, if you're wondering. So what I did was I switched into a Rescom RHT Loud thumb rest, which is the smallest metal thumb rest I found. The one I had before was the Arredondo too. Before I moved to the Go gun, I had an Arredondo plastic one, which was great, but it's plastic and I was afraid that you might break, so I switched to this one. And it's much smaller because that's all you need. You don't need a gigantic piece of metal like that to rest your thumb. I don't understand how big a thumb do you have, right? You only need a small ledge like that. So now my grip is, instead of my thumb being pointed up there, now my thumb is much lower. I get a better, more normal grip, which I'm very much used to. And now when I rest my hand, you see that it's a ½ inch of space. And if I press down, I get 3/4 inch maybe of space, of clearance, so that the racker won't hit my thumb. So now, after practicing and dry firing for a while, I'm used to this grip now. I'm used to this grip back again because this was my original grip before I moved to the Go gun. So I'm happy to get rid of this one. And now it's a lot more, much better grip for me, much more consistent draw, much more consistent target acquisition, sight acquisition. I don't lose my dot that often anymore. And it feels better, and it feels lighter too. It feels more, not much lighter, I would say, but it doesn't feel that chunky anymore. Maybe it's just a mindset thing, not really real. I think if I were to weigh this and this, it would probably be maybe ½ an ounce difference. But you know, ½ an ounce difference would probably not make a huge difference to your gun, especially when you just install the racker. But from a mental perspective, it feels a lot better, feels lighter, feels more balanced, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see how I do. I haven't shot this gun yet after putting all these modifications on. I did though. I did find out that my performance during dry fire has improved a lot. I can nail my reloads much easier. Now with this racker, I've added in unloaded starts, unloaded table starts, unloaded belt starts into my dry fire practice, and I'm practicing that as well to just get used to it. Used to manipulating the racker as well. I'm sure if I encounter a malfunction while I'm shooting, because of my training, my previous years of training of grabbing the slide, I think the first time I get a malfunction in the next match, I would just grab the slide and go, oh no, I have a racker, right? I just need to work that out of my system. But it is a much welcome enhancement. And that too, now that I've installed a racker, I don't need a kickstand anymore, because I can just lay my gun down on the table and it's propped up because of the racker. So it stands like that. And it's good enough. I can just reach in here, grab my gun, twist, load and go, and then rack. Alright, so a much welcome enhancement. I would definitely recommend if you don't have one on your open gun already. I know most of the open shooters I know have already been giving me a lot of crap for not having a racker on my gun. And the day I put the racker on, I posted a picture, I had it polished, I posted a picture on Facebook, and everybody went, "Oh, welcome to the 21st century, you know, finally you're getting serious." Alright, fine. I admit, I didn't want to do it, but I'm happy that I finally did it. And hopefully it would make a difference in my shooting. So now all I have to worry about is just making sure I get my hits. And, alright, so thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you guys on the range.